What's up guys, my name is Zanprez and welcome back or welcome to my channel. Today's video is going to be part 2 of this 3-part series that I'm doing, and today's video is going to be focused on white hives. So I'm not going to be exactly telling you guys what bees that you're going to need in this video. I am going to give you a general idea, but I'm not going to be doing a complete breakdown of every single bee that you need. So if you guys are interested in that, maybe go check out another video for that. I know that there are a bunch of videos out there that explain in depth a little bit more on white hives. I personally am not a white hive, but I do think that I have a pretty good understanding of everything that a white hive needs because I do have a lot of friends that are white hives. So that being said, I'm gonna just kind of get into this video and let you guys know everything that you need to know if you're considering going the white hive route. So in my last video, it was on red hives. I talked a lot about the importance of amulets, and amulets are very important for red hives and they are just as important for white hives as well. So amulets are going to give you all these different sort of boosts in the game, and you're going to want to look at all of your amulets. There are 6 different types of amulets. There's the star amulet, the shell amulet, the stick bug amulet, the moon amulet, the king beetle amulet, and the ant amulet. And those are all gonna be a little bit different, and you can get them in all different ways. So if you guys want some tips on how to get better amulets, or just what each of the amulets are and what they do, I have a video on that which will be linked down in the description. So if that is interesting to you, go check that out for sure. But there are 6 amulets in the game, and if you are a white hive, there are going to be boosts that you can get on all these amulets that give white pollen. And I think one of the best things about a white hive is that it is very good in all fields. So though you definitely want to make sure that your amulets focus on white pollen, it's okay to have some other different boosts for other color fields, because most white hives have a different color pollen in it as well. So that being said, you're going to want to make sure that on every single amulet that you have, it at least has some buff for white pollen. So for example, the ant amulet can have 2 different colored pollen buffs on them, and those can either be the red pollen buff, white pollen buff, or blue pollen buff, and it's going to be a combination of any 2 of those combinations. So maybe you'll get a blue pollen buff and a red pollen buff, and if that's the amulet that you get during your ant challenge, you're definitely not going to want to keep that one, and you're going to want to try to get a different one that has a white pollen boost on it if you are a white hive. So another one of the greatest things about a white hive is just how diverse it can be, like I said. So it really can grind in any field and perform pretty well wherever it is, but I do think that people should kind of try and keep in mind which fields they're going to be the most interested in farming in, because even as a white hive person, I understand that people aren't always going to just farm in a white hive, but it is good to pick a secondary color, such as like if you are a white hive, but you might also want to farm a little bit in red fields just in case, you know? So in that case, you would want to get an amulet with white pollen and red pollen. However, if you're kind of going for a more balanced hive route, then maybe diversify your amulets a little bit. On some amulets, make sure that they have white pollen, and maybe that amulet has white pollen and blue pollen, and then make sure that you have a different amulet that also has white pollen, but maybe that one will have a red pollen buff on it. So I hope you guys kind of understand what I'm trying to say. You're definitely going to want to make sure to switch things up a little bit. It kind of depends the white hive that you're trying to be, but in general, if you are a white hive and you're going to be focusing on white pollen, you're going to want to make sure that you can get a white pollen boost on every single one of your amulets. Something that I've touched on a little bit before in some of my previous videos, I always say that white hives have pretty much just middle of the road everything, which is honestly great sometimes. And you know, white hives definitely are some of the best at doing certain tasks, but for the most part, I would say a white hive is the best hive that you could have as a well-rounded player. So white hives have pretty good attack on your bees. It is not going to be as good as the red hive's attack, but it is still going to be much better than the blue hive's attack. So it's kind of just right there in the middle. It also is very good at collecting pollen. It's right up there with red, maybe even at sometimes higher. It really does depend on certain things. So that is also a huge benefit of the white hive. The one disadvantage that I've touched on before too is that white hives can be very expensive to run. Red hives are expensive to run if you're running a star saw with it, because stingers can be very expensive. And the sad thing is, white hives also, with star saw, are going to need stingers as well, which can get very expensive. And also you're going to need to be using a lot of gumdrops, which really isn't too bad, but it can get a little expensive after a while. And if you don't have enough funds to run this hive, then it can be really frustrating if you kind of are just stuck in the game with the white hive. Now, one thing about the white hive is I think it's probably one of the most expensive hives, if not the most expensive hive, because you're going to want to make sure that you have a bunch of mythic bees, but the expensive part is you're going to want to make sure that these mythic bees are gifted. You're going to want tons of vector bees, a bunch of fuzzy bees as well in your hive, and those are going to all need to be gifted at some point. And I'd say all of the color hives are going to need to have gifted mythic bees. However, the white hive, it's a little bit more important to have these bees gifted, because especially for vector bee, it has a gifted ability that will make it so much better than it is just when it's normal. So in order to have a good white hive, you really are going to need to have a gifted vector bee, a bunch of gifted vector bees in your hive, and that can be pretty expensive. So now that I've already talked a little bit about star saw, I'm gonna get in a little bit deeper on the star amulet that you're gonna want. So I'm assuming that if you're watching this video and you're planning on going red, and you're kind of at this stage in the game where I am, but you're wanting to shift over to white, then you're definitely going to want to make sure that you can pick up a Supreme Star Amulet that has a combination of Gummy Star and Star Saw on it. And it is so extremely hard. I really think people tend to underestimate how hard it is to generate a good Supreme Star Amulet that has a double passive. It's hard enough to get a Star Amulet with a double passive combination. It is a 1 in 50 chance to get a double passive combination, which costs 500 billion honey, which is not cheap by any means. That is extremely expensive for all players. It's extremely expensive for me. Maybe not expensive for some of the highest players in the game, but it is very expensive. So you're going to want the combination of Gummy Star and Star Saw. I have generated probably around 5 trillion worth of amulets, and I have never seen an amulet with a combination of Gummy Star and Star Saw. But that being said, it is not impossible to just get it after 10 billion. However, that is very highly improbable. You definitely can get that, and the reason you're going to want both of those passive abilities on it is because Gummy Star is going to be great because it's going to give you gummy bonuses, and you're going to need to be using the Gummy Mask to run this hive, so having Gummy Star is going to be essential. So if you're just starting off the white hive and you don't think you can get the double passive immediately, for whatever reason, maybe you just don't have enough honey to generate all those amulets, definitely make sure that you at least pick yourself up a Gummy Star, because that's very, very important for white hive. But you're also going to want a Star Saw on it, because that will help you with a lot of different things, such as attacking. It'll give you a lot of conversion power when you're in the fields. And that being said, it is a super great passive ability, but it is a lot more expensive, and the Gummy Star passive is also a lot more expensive to run than some of the other passives. So that kind of is a disadvantage of the White Hive, but White Hive is so good in other places, and I can't even stress how much I like the White Hive. I have personally never used a just White Hive before, but that seriously does not mean that the White Hive is a bad hive, because it is actually such an amazing hive. So I just talked about this very briefly, but you definitely are going to want to make sure that you can pick yourself up a Gummy Mask, and the reason for that is it has a Gummy Morph ability, which will turn you into a Gummy Bear, and it will turn the entire field into goo, which will give you 100% goo conversion, which is so insane. If you can get lucky with all of your boosts and everything stacks up perfectly, that can be the most overpowered ability in the entire game, and White Hive just is really good at stuff like that, but it is based a little bit on luck in some of those areas, but that could be said with every single hive color. So you're definitely going to want to make sure that you get yourself a Gummy Mask, because that passive ability of the Gummy Morph is going to be so important to have. Along with that, it is really nice to have the Gummy Boots. I know the Gummy Boots are so extremely hard to get. You're going to want to use the Gummy Boots basically whatever hive color you are, because it is the best boots in the entire game. So they're going to be great, but especially if you're a white hive, that's the advantage, because the Gummy Boots can help you even more since it has a passive goo trail, which is seriously just so important for white hives. Goo is the entire base and it's the backbone of White Hive. So I'm just gonna kind of go in here and generate one amulet. I like to sometimes just generate one amulet because it's not too expensive for me. I just did this boost and let's see what I get. So that's kind of funny. I got a gummy star, which I was just talking about. That's gonna be the passive ability that you want. But I really hope that a lot of you guys found this video to be helpful. I hope I didn't miss anything too big. You're definitely going to want to get a bunch of boosts on your amulets too, like instant conversion, and this kind of goes with all Hive colors. You're going to want instant conversion as a boost on your amulets. You're going to want honey per pollen. You're just going to want general like critical chance boost, critical power boost. Those are kind of just a general rule of thumb that is very good to go by. Also, on some of your amulets, like the Ant amulet, you're not going to really want to get move speed on your player. That's only good if you're really going for just a super attack Hive, but that's not really what you guys are here for. So anyway, I hope this video was so helpful to you guys. Let me know if you guys think I missed anything and you need me to clarify. But that's going to be about it. Thank you guys so much for watching. The channel has been growing so fast recently and it seriously means so much. So if you guys like my content, please be sure to like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and I'll see you guys next time.